The night sky was calm above Earth. Billions of people lived their lives thinking the universe was silent and empty. They believed humans were alone. But that belief ended on one single night, when the stars themselves seemed to speak. It began with a strange signal. At first, astronomers thought it was noise, maybe a star's radiation or a broken satellite. But soon, the signal repeated, again and again in perfect rhythm. It was not random. It was language. For 2 days, scientists across the planet tried to decode the sound. They worked in silence, knowing that if this was real, it would change human history forever. Then, finally, the signal spoke in a voice that was not human. The broadcast echoed across every communication system on Earth. Radios, televisions, computers, even phones, all at once. Cities froze. Soldiers stopped their training. Children stared at their screens. Humanity listened. The voice was deep, layered, and calm, but there was something cold inside it. Something alien. "We are the Galaxy Council. We are the Order of the Stars. We are older than your sun, and we have seen many species rise and fall." Panic spread. Governments called emergency meetings. Some people prayed. Some cried. Some shouted that it was a trick, that it was fake. But the voice continued, unstoppable, echoing into every corner of the Earth. "Humanity of Earth, you are warned. You are dangerous. Your weapons grow too fast. Your hunger for power spreads too far. In your short years, you have touched the sky, and now you reach beyond it. We have seen this before. Civilizations that rise too quickly bring fire and chaos. We cannot allow another." The words cut through the world like a knife. Every person who listened felt their chest tighten. The aliens were not here to greet. They were here to warn. "This is your final warning. Stop your expansion. Stop your weapons. Stop your war machines. Return to your home. Remain in silence or face erasure. If you disobey, you will not survive our judgment." Then the voice ended. The silence afterward was heavier than the words. Across Earth, no one moved. It was as if the world itself had stopped breathing. The message had lasted less than 5 minutes, but it felt eternal. In a control room in the United States, generals stared at the screen. "Final warning?" one of them whispered. In Europe, scientists debated in fear. Was this real? How far was this council? In Asia, leaders held private calls. Could Earth even resist something so powerful? But in every heart, one question burned like fire. Why us? Days passed, but the message never came again. It was a single warning, cold and absolute. Some people argued Earth should surrender, should hide, should never dare to touch the stars again. Others grew angry. Why should humanity bow to voices from the dark? Why should Earth crawl when the universe was open above? News stations filled with debates. Streets filled with protests. Priests spoke of judgment. Soldiers prepared without orders. Humanity was dividing, pulled between fear and pride. But in the halls of power, in secret meeting rooms under the earth, leaders already knew one truth. The Galaxy Council had made a mistake. They believed humanity would bow. They believed humans would freeze in fear. But humans had always been different. Humans had always stood tall against impossible odds. A young scientist in Geneva spoke quietly to her team. "If they are watching us, let them see silence. Let them think we are afraid. But in the shadows, we will prepare." The word spread like wildfire among those who were chosen. Not to surrender, not to shout, but to act. The Galaxy Council thought humanity was weak. They thought a warning was enough. But the history of Earth had always been written in fire, and this time would be no different. High above, in the blackness of space, satellites listened to the stars. The universe was no longer silent. A game had begun, and the players were watching each other. The people of Earth did not know what would come next. But one thing was certain. Humanity would not bow, and as the last echo of the alien warning faded, a single chilling thought grew inside every human heart. The alien message had ended, but its echo lived on. It was played again and again on every news channel, every radio, every screen. People could not escape it. Final warning. Stop your expansion, or face erasure. The words carved themselves into human memory. In New York, people marched with signs that said, "Stay on Earth, don't anger them." Others shouted back, "No surrender." We are human! The streets filled with fear and rage, two forces pulling the world apart. In Beijing, government halls stayed lit all night. Leaders debated in whispers, their faces pale. Could Earth survive a war against an ancient council that ruled the stars? Some said no. Some said humanity must kneel. In Moscow, generals stared at maps of the solar system. They asked each other, "How many ships do we have? How many weapons? How long until they come?" No one had answers. Only silence. In London, scientists gathered in conference rooms, screens glowing with star charts. They tried to calculate how powerful these aliens might be. If they were older than the sun, then their fleets must be unstoppable. And yet, not everyone believed in fear. A farmer in India looked at the night sky and whispered, "They think they can decide who lives and who dies? No, this is our sky too." His words were simple, but they were not alone. All across the world, the same thought grew. Humanity had always fought back. Against kings, against empires, against impossible odds. Why should this be different? Still, chaos spread. Religion clashed with science. Hope clashed with despair. Some people began to pray for salvation. Others built bunkers. Some even tried to send signals into space, begging the council for mercy. But far away from the shouting crowds, the true decision was being made. Beneath Geneva, in a hidden UN chamber, the most powerful leaders of Earth gathered. The room was silent, guarded, filled with tension. No cameras. No news reporters. Only men and women who carried the weight of entire nations. On the table before them, a single screen replayed the alien message. The voice repeated in that deep, cold tone, "Stop or be erased." When it ended, no one spoke for a long time. The air was heavy. Finally, an old general broke the silence. "If we surrender, humanity will never rise again. We will be prisoners on our own planet." A president shook her head. "If we fight, we may die." "Their power is beyond us." A scientist, young but fearless, leaned forward. Her voice was calm. "You are both wrong. We don't need to shout. We don't need to beg. We need to prepare, quietly, patiently. Let them think we are frozen in fear. Let them think we will obey. And when the time comes," she looked around the table, her eyes sharp, "we will show them what humans are." Silence followed. Some leaders nodded slowly. Others clenched their fists. But all of them knew. She was right. The decision was made that night. Not surrender, not open defiance, but something colder. The world would show silence to the Galaxy Council. Publicly, humanity would look broken. People would argue, protest, and cry. But in secret, behind locked doors and hidden bases, Earth would prepare for war. Military engineers dusted off old blueprints, projects that had been buried under secrecy. Space weapons never revealed to the public. Prototypes of faster engines. Hidden defense systems on the moon. Even Mars, once only a dream of exploration, began to change its purpose. The Council believed humans were reckless children. They had no idea humanity had been hiding secrets, building weapons for years, always expecting a day like this. In Washington, a fleet admiral whispered to his officers, "Do not move your ships yet. Keep them silent. If the Council is watching, let them see nothing." In Tokyo, scientists worked day and night, testing engines that could move ships faster than light. "Don't publish anything," their director warned. "Not a single word leaves this lab." In Africa, underground bunkers were filled with supplies, technology, and soldiers. Quietly, the continent prepared to become the last wall if Earth ever burned. All across the planet, humanity wore the mask of fear. The Council would see arguments, weakness, division. But behind that mask, something sharp and deadly was being forged. Weeks passed. The alien voice never returned, but satellites at the edge of the solar system picked up strange movements. Something was out there, watching, waiting. In the secret chambers beneath Geneva, leaders looked at the data. Alien probes were already near Neptune, maybe closer. The Council was testing humanity, watching for signs of rebellion. But humanity gave them nothing. No ships launched, no weapons revealed, only silence. And yet, under that silence, a storm was building. One night, the young scientist who had spoken in Geneva looked up at the stars. Her voice was cold, almost like a whisper to the universe itself. They think this is fear, but it is patience, and patience is the sharpest blade of all. The Galaxy Council had sent their final warning. Humanity's reply was not words, not yet. Humanity's reply was preparation, and when the Council finally came to enforce their threat, the answer they would find would be icy and merciless. Far beyond the solar system, in the dark halls of the Galaxy Council, the alien leaders argued. They had given their warning. They had expected humans to break, to cry, to beg. But Earth was quiet. Too quiet. The Council did not trust silence. Silence often hid danger. To know the truth, they sent a spy. The spy was no ordinary creature. It was a shapeshifter, built to blend into any world, any people. Its skin could copy faces, its body could change shape. On Earth, it became human. It landed quietly in a desert and walked into the cities unnoticed. For months, the spy watched. In New York, it stood among the crowds. People shouted in the streets, some demanding surrender, others demanding war. The spy wrote in its hidden log, "The humans argue like children. They cannot unite. Their fear blinds them." In Beijing, it sat in a lecture hall listening to scientists. Some said humanity was finished. Others whispered that maybe, just maybe, humans could resist. The spy noted, even their scientists disagree. Division weakens them. In Moscow, the spy watched soldiers march in silence. Their eyes were hard, their movements sharp. The spy frowned. These soldiers did not look broken. They looked ready. It sent a report back to the council. Humans are loud in public. They argue. They protest. But behind their noise, I sense something hidden. Their weapons are not shown. Their fleets are not visible. I cannot see where their strength has gone. The council listened. Some leaders laughed. They are primitives. They have nothing. Their silence means confusion. But others were uneasy. One elder being made of crystal and light spoke slowly. A beast that does not roar is the beast you should fear. Watch them closely. And so, the spy continued its work. In Africa, it saw huge bunkers being built underground. Trucks came at night, carrying machines covered in dark sheets. The spy tried to enter one, but armed guards blocked the way. Their eyes burned with determination. In the oceans, it saw strange ships leave the docks without lights. They carried massive containers vanishing into the waves. Workers whispered a single phrase, "For the day they return." In Europe, the spy followed soldiers into secret forests. They trained without media, without parades. They moved with a quiet discipline the spy had not expected. Everywhere, the spy saw two faces of humanity. One face was chaos, loud and divided. The other face was silence, cold and hidden, and the spy did not trust the second face. It sent another message to the council. I believe they are preparing. I do not know how far, but their silence is not surrender. It is patience. This is dangerous. The council grew divided. Some shouted for immediate attack. Others demanded more time. But in the end, the majority agreed, wait, watch the humans longer. Back on Earth, the spy stood on a rooftop in the rain. Neon lights glowed below and people laughed in the streets. To any alien eye, humanity looked harmless, even foolish. But the spy had lived among them long enough to see a truth written in their faces. Humans did not surrender with silence. When they went quiet, they were sharpening their knives. The spy felt something strange, something it had never felt before. Not anger, not confusion, but fear, because deep inside it knew humanity was not bowing. Humanity was waiting, and waiting humans were the most dangerous of all. Earth looked weak on the surface. Cities were filled with protests. News channels argued day and night. Some leaders spoke of surrender, others warned of extinction. To the Galaxy Council, it looked like humanity was breaking apart, but behind that noise, a colder truth was growing. Humanity was preparing. In hidden bases under mountains, factories worked day and night. Engineers tested weapons that had never been shown to the world. Old projects, buried for decades, were pulled out of the shadows. Energy cannons, orbital defenses, and new AI fleets were quietly built. On the moon, construction teams worked in silence. What once were research stations became fortified bunkers. Massive launch doors opened, revealing hidden hangars where ships were assembled piece by piece. No broadcasts, no announcements, only whispers between workers. On Mars, the red planet echoed with drills. Tunnels stretched deeper each day. Colonies were expanding, but not for science. These were shelters, armories, and command centers. Mars would not just be a colony anymore. It would be a fortress. Satellites were upgraded, their designs disguised as communication relays. But inside their cores were weapons, systems designed to blind, jam, and even destroy approaching fleets. The Council's spy walked among the people, but it could not see the whole truth. Humans were careful. They spoke of fear in public, but their eyes burned with something different in secret. In Washington, a general stood before his officers. His voice was low. "Do not show strength. Do not reveal anything. Let the Council believe we are afraid. That is our shield. When the time comes, our silence will break them." In Geneva, scientists tested a new weapon. A glowing sphere of energy lit up a lab underground. The blast it produced could melt steel in seconds. One scientist whispered, "If this works in space, even their strongest ships will fall." In Tokyo, an AI system was awakened. Thousands of drones lifted into the air, moving in perfect unison. A single command controlled them all. The AI spoke in a calm voice. Ready. Humanity was uniting in secret. For the first time in history, every nation, every rival, every power worked toward the same goal. Not domination, not conquest, survival. The Council watched from afar. Their probes saw nothing unusual. No fleets launched from Earth, no great weapons revealed, just a planet filled with chaos and noise. To the Council, humans looked weak. But the silence of preparation was spreading like ice. Ordinary people, too, played their part. Miners dug deeper. Engineers worked without sleep. Soldiers trained in forests and deserts, away from cameras. Even students whispered in classrooms, "When they come, we will fight." The spy grew restless. It could not find proof, but it felt the tension in the air. Every human it saw carried a strange fire in their eyes. It reported back again. "They hide something. They are building in shadows. I cannot see it, but I feel it." The Council debated again. Some still mocked the warning. Others grew silent. But Earth was no longer listening. In a control room deep under the Atlantic Ocean, a massive screen lit up with the first test of a new weapon. A long, sleek object launched into space. It disappeared into the black sky, silent and invisible. Moments later, data returned. The weapon had destroyed its target, an old satellite, without leaving a trace. The room erupted in applause, but the lead engineer only whispered, "Do not celebrate." This is not victory. This is survival. In the deserts of Africa, soldiers carried heavy machines into bunkers. The air was filled with dust and heat. A commander raised his fist. "Hide it all. Let the stars see nothing. When they arrive, we will be ready." And in the skies above Earth, hidden among the stars, satellites whispered to each other in secret codes. They formed invisible nets, watching every corner of space. If the Council moved closer, Earth would know. The world above was noisy. But the world below was quiet, focused, cold. Humanity's true answer to the Council was not fear, not words, not surrender. It was this silence, the silence of preparation, the silence of a species sharpening its claws. High above, the Council's spy stared at the planet, confused. It had seen many civilizations before. None had ever been so strange. Humans looked weak but acted strong. They cried in public but built in secret. They showed fear, but carried steel in their hearts. The spy began to wonder if the Council truly understood the enemy they had chosen. And as another hidden weapon was tested deep under the mountains, a whisper spread across those who knew the secret. When the Council returns, they will learn. Earth is not prey. Earth is patient. The silence was almost complete. But soon, that silence would break. The Galaxy Council grew restless. Their spies' reports were troubling. Humans were too quiet, too patient. The Council had expected a young, reckless race. They had expected panic, fear, begging. Instead, Earth argued loudly but acted strangely calm where it mattered most. No fleets launched, No weapons were revealed, nothing could be seen from space. But silence is never peace. In the shining chamber of the council, thousands of voices echoed. Leaders of ancient species, older than Earth itself, debated. One voice, sharp and angry, shouted, "We gave them a final warning, yet they remain silent. They mock us. We cannot wait any longer." Another voice, deep and heavy, answered, "Patience. They are children. They cannot harm us. But this silence is wrong. Something is hidden." The chamber grew dark as the eldest member spoke. A being made of crystal and light who had seen the rise and fall of dozens of civilizations. "Silence before the storm is the most dangerous sound in the universe. If humanity does not kneel, then they must be crushed." The decision was made. A second message was prepared. This time, it would not be a warning. It would be a threat. The broadcast reached Earth on a cold night. Once again, every screen, every radio, every phone came alive. Humanity stopped to listen. The voice of the council filled the world. "People of Earth, we offered mercy. You remain silent. You defy our command. This is your last chance. You have 30 days to surrender all weapons, all fleets, all technology of war. You will remain bound to your world. If you refuse, you will burn. Our fleets are already on the edge of your system. Obey or be erased." The message ended, and then the sky changed. At the edge of the solar system, near the orbit of Neptune, the first alien ships appeared. They were massive, glowing with strange energy. Their size dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Hundreds of ships gathered, and then thousands. It was an army born from 1,000 worlds, older than humanity could imagine. Telescopes on Earth captured the sight. The images spread across the planet in hours. Fear spread faster than fire. In London, a child cried as she watched the glowing fleet on her television. In Cairo, people prayed under the night sky. In New York, panic swept through the streets. The council had arrived. But the fleets did not move forward yet. They waited, like predators at the edge of a forest. Their scouts entered first, small ships gliding silently into the outer planets. They scanned for human fleets, for weapons, for defenses, and found nothing. Around Neptune, Saturn, Jupiter, there were no human ships waiting. No armies, no defenses, just silence. The council smiled. They believed humanity had broken. The spies' reports of protests, fear, and weakness now seemed true. The humans had no fight in them. But deep inside Earth, beneath the noise of panic, the truth remained hidden. Humanity's fleets were waiting, invisible. Their weapons slept in bunkers, on the moon, on Mars, in the oceans, and in the black space itself. Still, from the Council's view, Earth was empty, silent. The spy, however, was not convinced. Standing on a rooftop in a human city, it stared at the stars and whispered to itself, "They are hiding. I can feel it. This is not surrender. This is a trap." But the council no longer listened. Their fleets advanced deeper, preparing their strike. They believed victory was near. On Earth, in the hidden chamber beneath Geneva, leaders watched the alien fleet's movement. A large map of the solar system glowed on the wall. Red dots marked the council's ships. More appeared every day. A general's voice was steady, cold. "Let them come closer, not yet. The longer they wait, the deeper they walk into our web." The young scientist who had once spoken against surrender leaned forward. Her eyes were sharp. "When we answer, it will not be words. It will be silence breaking, and the council will understand what they woke." The world above was full of fear. But below, in secret, humanity was ready. The alien fleets thought they had found weakness. But what they had really found was patience. And patience, when it ends, always ends with fire. The alien fleets drifted deeper into the solar system. Their glowing ships passed the orbit of Neptune and moved toward Saturn. Thousands of them, shining like a second galaxy, each one armed with weapons older than human history. From Earth, telescopes showed the terrible sight. To the public, it looked like the end. People filled the streets, crying, praying, begging leaders to surrender. But the leaders said nothing. The silence continued. For the Galaxy Council, this silence was weakness. They laughed in their chambers. The humans are frozen with fear. They will kneel soon. But in hidden command centers under the oceans, in bunkers on the moon, in dark tunnels on Mars, humanity's silence was not fear. It was patience. And patience was about to end. At exactly midnight, a signal was sent, not to the aliens, but across the secret human network. Satellites woke from their sleep. Fleets hidden in the shadows came alive. AI systems hummed with cold precision. Humanity finally spoke, not with words, with action. A single message was transmitted into the stars. It was short, sharp, and colder than ice. "We heard your warning. Now hear ours." The council froze. The signal came not from fear, but from confidence. Before they could react, the silence of Earth broke open. From behind the moon, entire. Fleets uncloaked, sleek ships that had been invisible for months. From Mars, hidden bases launched war machines into orbit. From the oceans of Earth, submarines opened their hatches, releasing strange weapons into the black sky. The Council's scouts near Saturn barely had time to send an alert. Blinding light tore through the void as humanity's first strike hit them. Alien ships, massive and proud, exploded in seconds. Not one escaped. The Council gasped in disbelief. Humans had not been silent because of fear. They had been silent because they were waiting for this moment. On Earth, screens that once showed. Alien fleets now lit up with images of human warships rising into space. The world's people, once drowning in fear, now stared in awe. For the first time, hope spread faster than panic. In a hidden base, a general stood before the glowing map of the solar system. Alien red dots filled the screen, moving closer. But now, blue dots, human fleets, appeared to meet them. His voice was cold. "Let the galaxy see us. Let them see what silence was hiding." The Council tried to rally their forces. Their fleets spread into formation. Energy beams lit up the darkness, firing at the new human ships. But the humans did not fight like other species. They fought differently. AI systems controlled swarms of drones, moving faster than the Council could track. Human warships darted in and out of range, striking hard and disappearing before counterattacks could land. Every move was sharp, calculated, cold. The Council had expected chaos. Instead, they faced precision. One alien commander shouted in disbelief as his flagship was torn apart by a weapon that should not have existed. It left no trail, no heat, only silence, until his ship broke apart. Back on Earth, the young scientist who had argued for patience watched the battle unfold on her screen. Her face was calm, but her voice was like steel. "This is not anger. This is not revenge. This is the answer they forced from us. Cold, clear, and final." In space, more alien ships burned. Their great numbers began to shrink. What was meant to be a display of power became a display of weakness. The predators had walked into the prey's trap. The Council could no longer laugh. Fear spread through their chamber. How did they build this? How did they hide this? The answer was simple. Humanity had listened, and humanity had prepared. And now, humanity was speaking with the only language the galaxy respected: strength. The icy response was clear. Earth would not kneel. Earth would not beg. Earth would fight. And when humanity fought, they fought with silence, precision, and fire. As the first great battle lit the solar system with explosions brighter than suns, a chilling truth reached every corner of the Council. The solar system burned with war. Human fleets clashed with the Council's armada among the planets. Explosions lit up the darkness, brighter than any star. Ships vanished in fire, others fought on with desperate strength. From Earth, billions watched the battle through live feeds. Every screen showed the same sight: humanity standing, humanity fighting. Fear was still there, but it was no longer stronger than pride. The Council, however, still had numbers. Their ships outmatched humanity's fleet 10-1. Ancient weapons cut through human defenses. Even with strategy and stealth, Earth was bleeding. Inside the Council chamber, voices shouted over one another. Why do they resist? Why do they not fall? Crush them. Send everything. Leave nothing alive. And so the Council's order spread. Destroy Earth completely. Across the solar system, alien fleets tightened their formation. Their goal was no longer surrender, it was extermination. On Earth, in the underground command center, the leaders received the message. Silence filled the room. They knew what it meant. The general spoke with a voice of stone. They want to erase us. Then we show them why humanity survives when others fall. The young scientist who had warned them earlier stepped forward. Her hands shook, but her eyes burned with fire. It's time. Release it! The room grew cold. Everyone knew what it meant. Humanity's last weapon. The weapon no alien knew existed. A signal was sent. In the deep darkness near Pluto, something awakened. It was not a ship, not a fleet. It was a machine the size of a moon, built in secret for decades. Covered in ice and rock, it had been invisible to alien scanners. Now, the ice cracked, and the machine revealed its true form. The Aegis Array. Thousands of hidden rail cannons and energy lances unfolded, pointing toward the invading fleet. Its core glowed with terrifying power. A weapon built not for attack, but for survival at any cost. When it fired, the darkness of space turned white. A beam of energy, colder than death, cut across the alien armada. Ships that had stood for thousands of years shattered like glass. A single shot erased hundreds of vessels. The Council screamed in disbelief. Impossible! No new species could build this. But humanity had built it, not because they wanted war, but because they had always expected war to come. The Aegis fired again, and again. Alien numbers collapsed. For every human ship destroyed, 10 Council ships were erased. What was once overwhelming became manageable. Still, the cost was heavy. Human fleets burned too. Brave crews gave their lives holding the line, buying time for the Aegis to fire again. In the command center, silence filled the air as the screens showed the turning tide. The general's voice was low, almost a whisper. They thought silence meant weakness. Now silence will be their last memory. The Council's armada began to break. Commanders screamed for retreat. Ancient pride turned to fear. They had faced rebellion before, but never like this, because humanity did not fight like other races. Humanity fought with patience, with calculation, and with an unbreakable will to live. As the final Council fleet broke apart under the Aegis fire, the surviving ships fled back into the dark. They left behind wreckage, silence, and a truth they could never erase. Earth had stood. Billions on the planet cheered and wept as the news spread. The Council was not invincible. Humanity was not prey. Humanity had spoken, and the galaxy had listened. In the Council chamber, the elders sat in silence. For the first time in ages, they felt fear. We warned them. We threatened them. And they answered. What have we awakened? No one spoke again. On Earth, the young scientist stood beside the general, looking at the stars where the battle had ended. Her voice was quiet, but carried the weight of history. They wanted surrender. They wanted silence. We gave them silence, yes, but silence filled with fire. And in that moment, the galaxy changed forever. Humanity was no longer the young race to be commanded. Humanity was no longer the prey to be hunted. Humanity had become the rival the galaxy feared. The final stand had been won. But it was not the end. It was the beginning. The Council would return. Other empires would rise. But the galaxy now knew the truth. The war was over. Wreckage of alien ships floated across the solar system like broken stars. The Aegis array, still glowing faintly near Pluto, stood silent once more. Humanity had won the final stand. The Council's great fleet was gone. On Earth, celebrations filled the cities. Children waved flags, people danced in the streets, and fireworks painted the night sky. For the first time in living memory, humanity was united, not against itself, but against the galaxy. But victory carried weight. In the underground command center, the general stood with the young scientist, staring at the fading battle maps. "Billions celebrate," he said softly, "but we lost thousands of ships." "Millions of lives," the scientist nodded, her voice calm but heavy. "Yes, we won. But the Council will never forgive this. They will return stronger." The room grew silent. Everyone knew it was true. Humanity had survived, but survival always has a price. Far away in the council chamber, fear mixed with fury. The elders sat in their shining thrones, broken pride etched into their voices. "The humans have wounded us. They must never rise again. If they spread beyond their world, the balance of the galaxy will fall. They are not prey. They are a storm, and storms must be contained." But even as they argued, new voices whispered in the dark corners of the chamber. Not all species agreed with the Council. Some had seen humanity's fire and felt hope. Hope that the Council's age of domination might finally end. The galaxy had changed, and change never comes without cracks. On Mars, in the shadow of its red mountains, humanity's engineers worked without rest. Alien wreckage was gathered, studied, dismantled. New weapons, new engines, new possibilities. For the first time, humanity held not only its own inventions, but the secrets of civilizations millions of years older. The scientist watched the alien metal melt in her lab, sparks dancing in her eyes. "With this," she whispered, "we will not only defend Earth, we will walk among the stars." Her words spread like fire among the people. Fear turned into determination. Humanity would not wait for the next attack. Humanity would prepare. Humanity would expand. But in the darkness beyond known space, something else watched. The Council was not the only power in the galaxy. Beyond them, deeper in the void, an ancient force stirred. Older than the Council, older than most stars. A species that had not shown itself for millennia. They had heard the signals of war. They had seen humanity's icy response, and they were interested. A shadow passed through the wreckage fields near Neptune, silent, invisible, not of Council design. It scanned the debris, recording everything. Then, as quietly as it came, it vanished into the deep. Humanity never saw it. Weeks later, on Earth, the scientist looked at the stars with unease. Victory should have felt sweet, but her heart carried a strange weight. She spoke quietly to herself. "We won, but why do I feel like the war has only just begun?" The stars gave no answer. But far away in the endless dark, countless eyes had turned toward Earth, some filled with fear, some filled with anger, and some filled with curiosity. Humanity had taken its first step into the larger war of the galaxy. The final stand was not the end. It was only the beginning, because now the questions spread across every world, every empire, every council chamber.